Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be creating a page in our junk journal pages all about journaling your thoughts. So I'm starting on a fairly ugly page of my junk journal and just adding in some colours. So I've got some turquoise, some sky, some mineral, which is kind of a pale blue, and I'm adding in now some darks with this is marine, so it's sort of like a deep petrol-y blue. I got a little bit heavy-handed with this, so I put a little bit too much on, so I decided I'd rub some of it away. Usually if you're going to do this, dry the layers underneath beforehand, because when I was rubbing it away, I was rubbing away the paint underneath as well, because it was still a little bit wet. But just because I'd been a bit too heavy-handed, I wanted to balance it up a little bit. I'm also going back in again with some of that marine colour and dialing it down a little bit. You'll notice as I'm doing this, because I am not very patient, I was peeling up some of my paper as well. Because this is in my junk journal, the paper is really, really thin, particularly this page I was working in. So once it gets really wet and saturated with lots of paints and inks and sprays, you may tear a little bit of it. It doesn't bother me too much, but also patience is a virtue. So if you can wait for things to dry, that would be really good as well. So once I'd finished, I've done some splats with ink. I've got in below oil pencil and just scribbled over the pages, and I've just water activated that a little bit. And you'll see, it started off quite dull on the page. As soon as you add the water to it, it just sort of really gets that inky black line and bleeds out a little bit. So you get these sort of really fuzzy lines, which I really like. Now I'm going in again with some stamps, again adding some of the black onto the page as well, just to balance it up a little bit. Once I finish that, I'm then going to add some colour to the page. Because I had so much of the darker colours, I want to add a little bit of pop of brighter colours. So I'm going in with the these Might Maker stamps from Tim Holtz and different shades of blue and stamping over the top. So while you can sort of see it on the top right hand corner, it's not particularly obvious all over, but when you have a close-up look at the page, you get this sort of layered effect of the different colours coming through. The final thing I did was to add the big ink splots on, and to add some little crosses. So I like these little crosses because they look like someone's sewn onto the page. It's about the only time, in fact, you'll actually see anything that looks like sewing on my pages, because I just don't sew. Paper crafts I can do till the cows come home, sewing not so much. So I knew I wanted to add some leaves on this page. I was in a bit of a thoughtful mood, and this is why it looks like everything in the kitchen sink has been added to this page, because I just wanted I wanted to keep my hands busy, I wanted to keep my mind busy. So I just kept working. So I'm just stamping out the two sketchy leaf patterns onto my page in black. And I did this so I could trace over the top of them. And I find this a really, really useful thing to do, particularly if you're not great at doodling or you are a little bit nervous about doodling on your page. If you've got a shape or something that you can use as a bit of a template, it really, really helps. So I'm going in with my white pen and drawing in the leaves. So the reason for that is my page was getting very, very dark. I'd added a lot to it, so I wanted to balance it up with some white. And by adding in the white pen now, I've got a little bit more control over where I put it and how it balances out my page. I knew I wanted to put a quote on here somewhere. So you notice that most of my leaves are sort of on the right hand side and leading into the left hand side, but it's leaving me a little bit of room that I can do some writing. Now you could add in a few stamped images and then add your own on. Once you start doing this, you get a little bit more confident with the shapes that you're drawing and so on, so it makes it a little bit easier to draw. Once I've done that, I'm just drying off this layer because I knew I wanted to draw over the top again, which seems a little bit redundant, but it's just getting those really sketchy lines back in again. Now, if you're really, really clever, you can stamp over the top as well in the black again, just to sort of get that sandwiched effect. So you've got the white and then you've got the black over the top. It's just as easy to draw it with hand though. You can see I'm holding my pen quite high up and quite loose. So that's allowing me to have really sort of squiggly, scribbly lines that aren't perfect. So I found when I'm doing stuff like this that I prefer things not to be perfect. If they are, if you make a mistake, it makes it more obvious, whereas if they are scratchy and loose like this, if you make a mistake, it looks like it's part of the design. So it is totally up to you what you choose to do. Obviously, it's your artwork, but for me, I find I like the loosey-goosey type lines on my page. I decided I wanted to have a little bit of a contrast colour on here, so I got the Tangelo gloss spray out and just did some splatters in the background. And the reason for that is I did have some reds in the background, but orange is a really good contrast colour for blue. In fact, it's the complementary colour, it's the opposite colour to blue, so it stands out really well on the page and just gives that lovely little punch of colour. So once I'd done that, I decided I wanted to have a quote on my page. And I was thinking about what I'd done in the background and how it sort of all tied together, and this really appealed to me. So the difference between a weed and a flower is judgment, and that's what this page is too. You know, for some people it could definitely look like a weed page because it is chaotic and messy and scribbly, and you know, not particularly, the colours are a bit dull and so on. But, you know, for some people, you know, it might be a flower. So it really is that thing of judgment. And sometimes we're our worst judges. You know, we can have a piece that we're working on and we've worked on for ages and just go, oh, that's rubbish. I hate that page. I'm going to tear it out or I'm going to paint over it. But for someone else, there might be something on that page they absolutely adore, how you've done it or what you've done on that page. So it's just, you know, it is what it is. Your judgment on it might be one thing, but someone else's judgment on it might be something else. And I suppose you give the power to which judgment you want to listen to. So that's my little life lesson for today. But yeah, go gentle on yourself, and particularly on your artwork. If it brings you joy when you're doing it, if you've had fun doing it, if it's, you know, you've tried a few new techniques or you've used a new colour or you've done something you haven't done before, focus on that. It doesn't all have to be perfect. And as I often say, practice makes progress. So the more you practice it, the more you're going to progress. So yeah, that's what this page is. So now I'm going in and doing some drop shadows on my letters, and you can see how that sort of pushes them out from the background a little bit, particularly if I've got some stamping or some images over the background. It just gives it a little push out from the background and helps it to stand out. Now obviously, because I've done my letters in white, I'm using black, but you could use a different colour if you wanted to as well. You know, I could have done that with an orange, for example, and continue that complementary colour across my page too. So to outline that black ones, I've just used my foodball pen. I have heat set it because the foodball pen isn't permanent like the Posca paint pens, so just be aware of that. You don't want to get any water or smudge it because it will smudge, but it does dry quite quickly as well if you hit it with a heat gun for a little bit. So that's my page. I hope you have a go at doing something similar, and I hope you be kind in your judgment on your pages as well. Until next time, bye for now.